This is lines 295 to 304 in the Aeneid, Book 6, and this is the first part of the AP syllabus, which covers Book 6. And we pick it up in this description of the entrance to the underworld, and we're going to talk about the Acheron and the Cocytus and Charon. Really try to paint this really vivid, terrifying picture for Vergil's audience. From here, the Via Tartarea, so the road of Tartarus, which bears, sort of directs, which bears to the waters of the Acheron. And so you might notice that we're missing a main verb. And so that main verb is est, right? So from here is the road of Tartarus, the way of Tartarus, which bears towards the waters, the waves, literally, of the Acheron. Heek, this is a long I here, a turbidus gurges. And we have a nice hyperbaton here encompassing the entire line. So a filthy gulf or abyss or whirlpool, with kino here means like a sludge or a filth, and a vast whirlpool. And then we get finally the verb here, the enjambment, aistuat, so seethes. So this wild or thick gulf or abyss here seethes with mud or filth and a vast whirlpool. And it eruptats, and so it sort of vomits forth or brings forth violently all the sand, all the harena. And kokito here is a dative of directions, not a very common use of the dative, but brings forth this sand to the cocytus. Our portator, and so this we might think of as doorman or something like that, but we know we're talking about Charon here. So the ferryman. These, and we don't know what these are yet, but we know that the portator is horrendous, so shudder-inducing, horrifying, terrible, and he servats. So he protects these waters and the rivers. And then we get terribili squalore, and so we have these in the ablative, terrible, awful, dreadful, and then filth or squalor. And so we must be saying something like, in his terrible squalor, in his terrible filth, or with his dreadful filth. So an ablative of specification or something to that matter. To whom, so a dative of reference. So we're still talking about Charon, the ferryman. To whom, for the most part, or very much, on his chin, a unkempt gray hair, so inculta, shaggy gray hair lies. So to whom very much, or for the most part, shaggy gray hair lies on his chin. And so kui here, the dative of reference, we could probably take more as like a possessive here with mento, so on whose chin this shaggy gray hair lies. His eyes, his lumina, his lights, they stare, they stand in fire or in flame or with flames. His sordidus amictus, so again another hyperbaton here. We had that with turbidus gurges up here. So his filthy cloak, or his filthy robe, hangs from his shoulders in a knot. He himself directs his raft, his skiff, with a pole, and he directs it. So ministrat being essentially a synonym for subegate here, so sort of tends to it with sails. And he carries the bodies of the dead, in his feruginea, so his sort of like rusty colored or dusky, and Kumba here is another word for boat, dusty skiff. Now older, or now an old man, but his senectus, or the senectus to this god, is fresh or raw or bloody, and viridis here, vigorous or fresh. So, but the god's senectus here, the god's old age, is raw and fresh.